everybody, Sean from Movie Assault here, and it's time once again for another movie review. This time out, it will be the second installment of this year's January Cage Match. That's where I take a look at the films of Nicolas Cage during the month of January, and that is to celebrate his birthday, which is January 7th. He turned 59 this year. So this time out, I want to take a look at his most recent theatrical release, although it was a limited release, and that movie is The Old Way, which is a traditional Western, and it is actually the first traditional Western that Nicolas Cage has been a part of. There have been other movies in his career that could be arguably considered Westerns based on their themes. Prisoners of the Ghostland, I think, is one that somebody made the case for, but this is the first traditional, what you think of when you think of a Western type film. In this film, he plays a man named Colton Briggs, who used to be a cold-blooded gunslinger, and now in the present day, or the present day of the film, he is a domesticated shopkeeper. He lives at home with his wife and his 12-year-old daughter, and everything is going relatively calmly until one day he walks his daughter to school, leaves his wife at home, and a gang led by an outlaw who is part of Colton's past actually murders his wife. I'm not spoiling anything. This is all included in the trailer. And he's notified by a U.S. Marshal that his wife has been killed and that the Marshal is tracking this outlaw and his gang. Well, that's not good enough for Colton Briggs. He has to take up the pursuit of this man on his own, and he takes his 12-year-old daughter in tow. And in the process, they end up learning a lot about each other. He ends up teaching her how to fire a weapon, that kind of stuff. This is not anything that's particularly original. It's a fairly standard revenge picture, just in a Western setting. But what sets it apart from your typical Western is, of course, that Nicolas Cage is in it. But he's really not the star in terms of what makes this an interesting movie and worth seeing. His daughter, who is played by Kiera Armstrong, who has been making a name for herself in movies like It Chapter 2 and, it escapes me what other things that she's been in, but she's been in a lot recently. You can always Google her. But she delivers a really outstanding performance. There are quite a few scenes that feature her that are dialogue heavy, and she proves herself to be very smart, witty, funny, and the chemistry that she has with Nicolas Cage in their scenes is just short of outstanding. They really have a great chemistry, and it is really for the two of them that this movie is worth seeing. It is pretty obvious that this is a low-budget picture, although it never really looks cheap. It has some stars in it that you may recognize their faces, although you might not immediately know their names, and I actually have to look up their names because I can't recall them off the top of my head either. Nick Searcy, who was in The Shape of Water. Clint Howard. I know Clint Howard. He's Ron Howard's brother. He's in a ton of stuff. He was in Apollo 13 as an example. And Abraham Benrubi, who probably is most well known for being in TV's ER. They sort of set this apart from your typical low-budget Western. The sets are pretty robust and well done. They look a lot better than the sets in more recent B-movie Westerns that I've watched, like Eminence Hill and Once Upon a Time. In Deadwood, which is a Robert Bronzi film, which is probably not quite a grade B movie, maybe a grade D movie, but anyway, you get my idea that this is a cheap movie, but it doesn't look cheap. It's really well acted. Again, Nicolas Cage and Kiera Armstrong are top-notch in it, and really they are the reason to see it. If you are a big fan of Westerns because you like shootouts, you may want to pump the brakes on this one a little bit because this is more about character development. It's more about the chemistry and the development of a relationship between Colton Briggs and his daughter Brooke. And that's really what made me enjoy it. So I'll give it a 7 out of 10. And really thought it was an interesting experience going to a theater to see a Western with Nicolas Cage in 2023. It's pretty awesome. So I had a good time. Your mileage may vary, but you know, with the proper reservations, you'll probably enjoy this movie quite a bit. So there you go. That's my review of The Old Way. And stay tuned for next week's review. I will have probably the ultimate example of what Nicolas Cage can do with a role. I'll be taking a look at Vampire's Kiss from 1988. So thanks for watching. As always, thank you for watching to the end of the video. If you've made it this far and you like what you've seen, please click that subscribe button, click the thumbs up button, and click the little bell so you'll be notified the next time I post a video. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Take it easy.